All right, welcome everybody. We're going to call the order of the Grand Forks City Council meeting for Monday, August 7th, 2023. I'll get a roll call, please, Maureen.
Weigel.
Here.
Okowski. Here. Vedder.
Here.
Lund. Here. Tommy.
Here.
Sandy.
Here.
Steve.
Here.
All present.
All right, thank you. Item 1.2, Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. All right, item 1.3, Mayor's announcements, a couple of announcements. So we're going to have a quick presentation actually on the building that we're sitting in right now. So we had a great August 1st, the Grand City celebration went off without a hitch. So one more chance to thank our first responders for getting out there into the community and showing off some of the equipment and getting to interact with the public. This weekend on Saturday, there was a great event, Vets in the Park. We had a lot of some of the people that are here tonight were out there. A really great event. I want to thank Love and Action, Red River Community Valley Action for sponsoring that event and hosting it. We had a meeting with some local businesses today, kind of a follow-up on our business-friendly meetings that we had when I first got into office over at the Chamber. It went really well. And an exciting announcement, we were out at the base this afternoon. Senator Hoeven, along with Dr. Tornier of the Space Development Agency, announced some enhanced capabilities and some enhanced investment in Grand Forks. They originally had pegged about 40 new employees. Now that number is going to go up to 100. So really phenomenal announcement, more high-paying jobs in the community. So pretty exciting. With that, we do have a quick presentation. I believe Johnny Ryan is here. There he is. He's going to go over. Do we have the slide pulled up? Kind of talk about how the Hive's been doing the building that we're sitting in now. So, Mr. Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor Bolchinski, President Sandy, members of the council. I just wanted to give a quick kind of update on the Hive, kind of where we've been, where we are today, and kind of the future plans and kind of projections. So, quickly, in May of 2019, the city buys the Herald building, which we stand in. There was a delay due to COVID, and it resulted in kind of a pivot to focus on tech and UAS, drones, etc. April 2021, the Public Works and Economic Development Act granted an award of $1.08 million with local match of $1.08 million. And in February of 2022, construction began. November 2022, substantial completion of construction. Followed by April 2023, the EDA approves our membership structure. So that's kind of when we could actually start vetting companies, having the criteria for what constitutes a company that would fit this ecosystem, fit the UAS kind of vision that we have, fit our drone autonomy ecosystem. And the advisory board ordinance was approved. May 2023, Hive had come to life with members. But not until, I think, June 1st, we started signing leases with a lot of members that were waiting patiently, that we had interested in the Hive, interested in the Hive's vision even before we were allowed to sign leases. We had a lot of interest and kind of community built up before that. So that's great. In July of 2023, very recently, we had the EDA rep who actually awarded the grant for this building. She came through the building. I've had a lot of tours from different organizations come through, and when she walked in, she was absolutely wowed by what we've done, kind of what the money's actually gone to versus what we said it's going to go to. Everything aligns. And we gave her a long tour. She actually did a second tour on her own with Skyping one of their higher up members of the EDA to give them an additional kind of virtual tour. And she had even said that this project looks so great that you could even come back with more applications for other projects if there was some other projects that people had in mind. And she was very impressed that we already have the amount of tenants and the type of tenants that we already had. And it shared some kind of stories from other experiences with other co-working technology accelerators that are maybe on the brink of empty / almost completely empty. Down in South Dakota, there were a couple that she cited. A couple other people that cited those as well. So she was really excited about what we're doing in Grand Forks, what we're doing with the drone UAS kind of focus that we have. And she thought this is something that she actually requested if it'd be possible to have their higher ups, regional more than regional come out and see the hive for themselves. So they're going to set up a second visit, and they're going to fly here from all over those areas. So that's great. We have in August this month, we have super busy month. We have a private tour and meeting with North Dakota Technology Director from the North Dakota Department of Commerce coming Thursday. They have a vetted and really reputable UAS company that's looking to move to Grand Forks, looking at the hive called Saikasui Aerospace. They're a really well-known company. They're coming through Thursday, and also bringing with them is the COO of Commerce, and we'll have a member of the North Dakota Trade Commission. So that'll be this Thursday. And then separately, they've been so excited about the hive that they're coming back next Friday with the Director of Technology from Department of Commerce and all the Directors of Finance and the Directors of Development. So everybody that runs the LIFT Fund, the Development Fund, they'll all be here next Friday for a meeting tour as well, just to see the excitement around the hive. We have coming up, we also have a bunch of kind of regional meetings that are happening from some of our members, and then their greater team members that are coming. We have KBR has a group of 10 of their members coming tomorrow, flying in, having a 2-day kind of conference for them. We have coming up in September, we have the 3-day FAA deputies kind of sub-regional meeting. So it'll be 20 FAA deputies that are coming in to have their 3-day meeting up in the executive boardroom. And then we hope to have our grand opening sometime in September. So also in September, we're starting our upskilling classes. There'll be 6 classes on transferable skills aimed to advance the workforce of tenants in the hive, and also Greater Grand Forks, just employees that can take these classes. They're available online at hivegf.com. You can see what the classes are. I know they got a really good feedback on the last kind of set of classes that they did, but you can sign up right there. In October, we have, this is kind of our biggest focus of the year, is the BBI UAS Summit that's going on. We have a time slot for Mayor Brzezinski and myself will be speaking at the conference. And then we have a separate event where we're going to actually have a bus that takes members of the UAS Summit that maybe wouldn't leaveUlaris, wouldn't check out Grand Forks outside of the conference. And we're going to bus them down to the hive and get a tour of the hive with myself and the mayor. So if they want a time with the mayor or other people, they can hop on that bus, go down to the hive, get a quick tour, go back to the conference, and maybe they'll see more of Grand Forks than they would see just being at the conference itself. So we're going to do that both days, and then have a 30-minute window to speak and have a booth at that conference. So that'll be the majority of tenants, prospective tenants, will be at that conference from all over the world. So that's kind of our big focus. And the city is a HIAP sponsor in that. And then in the winter of 2023, we have a bunch of coding classes that I'll be teaching. And then an outside group that'll be teaching drone building and how to build kind of an automated drone delivery system from start to finish. Next slide, please. So these are just these are some of the events we've already had that have been successful. We had an Up Next Group UAS event that probably had 45 people at it. We had Tommy from Eyesight and Ned from Meadowlark speak, EDC kind of coordinating between that. We've had some outside groups, technology group in Moorhead that came to visit. They built kind of high-tech goggle systems that they might get into drones. You know, can potentially manufacture those in Grand Forks if they could. We had a visit from Pete Buttigieg through the hive. That was pretty cool. We had a big event with G Beta, Shark Tank, one of the funds out of Fargo. They've actually been here quite a few times, so it's been a really good just kind of pulse on how we're doing when they've kind of skipped the Fargo event space and come here for an event. So that one was a couple companies presented their Shark Tank kind of events, and then they live streamed it to a various amount of people. I'm not sure how that went, but or how many people they had, but it was a really good event, really good turnout, and we plan to do something similar. And then just a photo of some of our tenants moving in. And so these are the companies that we're allowed to share their names. Some we have that we're not, but this is kind of who we have for our main tenants so far. And it's growing. We definitely are exceeding our own expectations. I think we've had a few things that kind of come our way, but we've really moved past them quickly. And it just shows that our members are really excited about the building, kind of more easy to work with us, and we just keep growing. So in May, our monthly revenue was around $6,000 a month for tenants. And now we just surpassed $11,500 a month for tenants. So for rent and membership fees, we're at $11,500 a month. And I project that that'll be $15,000 to $20,000 by December. So we're definitely on track to keep moving along. And that's without the upstairs space that we haven't renovated yet, which we went before with. So that I think comes out to $140,000 a year, up to our projection would be something like $250 plus. So everything is on track for that. And if you guys have any questions, yep.
Why won't some of the companies be able to share their names? Like, am I allowed to know, or?
No, it's just some that they're getting started and they're just like, they're not maybe incorporated yet, or they have other jobs that they're doing.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
And some actually, the majority of that, they have technology that is so sensitive that they don't want anyone copying what they're doing. So they're kind of in like ghost mode until that happens. It's like if you have intellectual property and it's the first one to build it, you don't necessarily want everyone else knowing what you're building.
Right.
Before it's up and running.
I guess it's our citizens' dollars that are funding the building, right?
What's that? Yeah, they're not signed up yet.
They're not signed up.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. Sorry, not to over confuse that. That's just.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Thank you for the presentation. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item number 2, awards, presentations, appointments, and proclamations.
2.1 is the 2023 intern recognition.
All right. Do we got, is Gretchen taking this one? Or Haley is, okay. Oh, she's got the whole crew coming. All right.
Good evening, Mayor Bochensky, President Sandy, and members of the council. Today we just wanted to cap off our 10th internship program and celebrate our interns. We had 17 great interns this summer. 11 are here to share just a little bit about what their projects were this summer for the city of Grand Forks, and just celebrate this continued partnership with the University of North Dakota. First, I'd like to kick it off with Rachel Peterson, and we were fortunate to have her in Human Resources.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. I'm Rachel Peterson, and like Haley said, I was the Human Resources intern. I actually started in January, so I've been able to be here for a while before summer. I'm from Hampton, North Dakota. I will graduate in December from the University of North Dakota with a degree in management. And this summer, I have worked a lot with the intern program, with attending job fairs to recruit students, interviewing, and the whole onboarding process. And I got to help with a lot of the onboarding process for many of the seasonal employees. I was also able to help the PSAP department with policy work and rewriting and reworking policies this summer.
Mayor Bochensky, President Sandy, and ladies and gentlemen of the council. Those who know me, I'm Travis Benson, one of the patrol lieutenants with the police department. And I've got the honor of introducing Ella Minsky and Chris Hollingsworth. They were our community service officer interns this summer. I'll let them tell a little bit about themselves and what they did.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Like Lieutenant said, I'm Chris Hollingsworth. I was a community service intern. I'm from Fargo, North Dakota, and I'm studying criminal justice and sociology at UND. I just finished my freshman year. And we got to do a lot of work with animals throughout the summer, like reuniting pets to their owners. We also got to do a lot of education and information on different city codes here in Grand Forks. So.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Ella Minsky. I am from Princeton, Minnesota. I actually just graduated in May with a degree in forensic science and psychology with a minor in criminal justice. I was a community service officer intern this summer, so I spent the summer helping out the police department and officers with minor calls like animal calls and parking enforcement. It's been really nice this summer to take something that I've spent the last 4 years learning about and actually apply it to a real life experience.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Melanie Party, I'm the Water Director, and I have with me tonight Dorothy Dalton with USDA. She actually overseen the internship that we had, and I'll let Colin introduce himself.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the Council. My name is Colin Morgan. I'm from Grand Forks, North Dakota. I'm a fish and wildlife major at the University of North Dakota. And this summer, I spent my time doing wildlife mitigation for the Grand Forks wastewater treatment plant. I practiced utilizing pyrotechnics, propane cannons, and a laser for the non-lethal mitigation of birds. Yeah, right? It's pretty cool. For the non-lethal mitigation of birds to keep them out of the airspace of the airport. This summer, I also developed an independent research project looking at the health of the amphibians at the wastewater treatment plant, seeing if there's any negative effects of their health depending on anthropogenic pollution.
Yeah.
Mayor Buczynski, members of the council, Gary Lorenz, Fire Chief here in Grand Forks. I would first like to start out and say how appreciative I am of this internship program. It really does provide a lot of value. I've been fortunate to have interns the last 2-3 years, and they do add a significant benefit to the department. They take care of a lot of the things that are difficult for us to do every day, and I am appreciative of it. I'm here to introduce Brooke DeGeneres. She has been working with our social media, our marketing. She's also been very helpful with John and the other departments in completing some of the tasks that they've had to do, and I'll let her talk about that.
Good evening, Mayor and members of Council. I'm Brooke DeGeneres. I'm from Arthur, North Dakota. I'm majoring in marketing and communications, and I'll graduate in December, and I'm really excited. I wasn't messing with birds or fish, but I was running a Facebook and Instagram account. That was super fun. It was really nice to see the work that the fire department puts in the summer. Going into it, I'm going to be completely honest. I just thought they would go get a fire and then maybe go back home, sit on the couch. I don't know what they did. And so it was really cool to see all the training that they did and the work that they put in all the time. And so it was really nice to put, like she said, the work that I'm putting in the last 4 years of learning different engagement and the types of reach that social media accounts can have, and kind of putting my thoughts and my work into real place use. So that was really nice. And I loved working with John and the PSAP department too, helping out with their social media or the city calendar.
Mayor, members of council, Brooke, yes, it's a pleasure. Thank you. I'm John Bertram, Public Information Officer for the City of Grand Forks. I'm here to introduce Caitlin, who, from an intern standpoint, I believe you were the youngest intern and the only one who didn't go to UND. She goes to Gonzaga in Washington. So it's been a lot of fun.
Good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. My name is Caitlin McKenzie. I'm from Grand Forks, and this summer I was the audio and visual production intern with the Public Information Department. I'm studying marketing at Gonzaga University, and I am a sophomore. This summer I've had a lot of fun, and I've really learned a lot. One thing I learned how to do is how to broadcast city council meetings and other meetings, which has been really fun. I also got the opportunity to go around town and take a lot of photos and videos and make different projects for our town social media. It's been really great to be this involved in town and know everything that's going on. And this internship has offered a lot of invaluable experience that I don't feel like I would have gotten anywhere else. Thank you.
Mayor, members of City Council, my name is Lieutenant Jeremy Moore with the Grand Forks Southeast Army Criminal Investigations Bureau. We have Claire Leach here that has been our intern this last summer. I'd like to echo Chief Lorenz's comments. This is a very valuable program that we appreciate very much. We get a lot of benefit, not only for our officers, but Claire. But I'd like to introduce her and then have her tell you what she's been doing.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the Council. My name is Claire Leach. I'm a senior at UND this year, majoring in psychology and minoring in criminal justice. I'm originally from Grand Forks, and this summer, like you said, I've been the intern with the Criminal Investigations Bureau at the Police Department. I've really learned a lot. Some things that I've worked on are putting together intelligence bulletins
which consists of collecting information on crime trends and things to be aware of. That gets sent out to officers and local law enforcement. I also upload reports of stolen property into a database for officers to access and cross-reference those items, as well as organizing, uploading cold cases from the old record system into the new one. And overall, I've got to see a lot of different aspects of the police department, from forensic interviews to evidence collection. It's been a really valuable experience for me, and I definitely appreciated it.
Evening, Al Grasser, city engineer. Introduce our intern, Joe Scipione. He was actually just featured on the city webpage. If you looked at it, I don't know if it's still on there today, but last week he was still featured with his pictures. So I'll let him talk about some of the things he learned here over the summer.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. I'm Joseph Scipione. I'm going to be a sophomore at UND. I'm majoring in mechanical engineering, and I was born in Hibbing, Minnesota. Came up to North Dakota for college, and what I learned this summer is just all the different specifications in concrete, when you want rebar, when you want dowels, how the different granular bases can affect concrete as it ages. What I did this summer was I oversaw slump and air tests of concrete and helped the engineering department inspect all the different concrete pours that were going on, namely the one on South Washington that should be finishing up here soon. And just overall helping the engineering department with the overflow of summer construction projects. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Buczynski, members of the council. I'm Jalen Bedard, Environmental Health Manager with Grand Forks Public Health. And I'm happy to report that innovation has no minimum age limit, also no expiration dates. So thank you for supporting this program. It's been a benefit to our department. It's great to bring in these fresh eyes and new perspectives and the skill sets that they bring and share them in city service. And I hope that we provide the same service back to them in honing their skills. Tonight I have with me Katie Elliott. She's been our intern. She'll express what she's been doing over the course of the summer here.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So I was our environmental intern this summer. I'm actually from Grand Forks, North Dakota. I'm majoring in communication at the University of North Dakota, and I'll be graduating in December. Some of the key things I really got to do this summer was drive around in a city car to kind of check out grass. Join other public health team members on inspections, whether it was for pools or restaurants, or even getting to go out of town and check out some of our regional stuff that we do, like septic and regional pools as well. So thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, President Sandy, members of council. I'm Mike Bonstall. I'm the budget manager in the finance department, and I've had the honor of supervising the interns in the finance department over the years. It's actually been a couple of years since we've had an intern in the finance department, but it's been great to, I guess, get back in the swing of things of having intern in the busy budget season. So with that, I'll introduce this year's intern, Brandon Miller.
Good evening, mayors, members of City Council. My name is Brandon Miller. I was the intern at the finance department. I'm from Warren, Minnesota. And I'm a senior at UND for accounting. And throughout this internship, I've met and worked with a lot of great people, and I learned a lot. And I mostly worked on the 2020 for mayor's budgets and other things too. It was very good. Learned a lot.
So he's the one we can blame for the budget.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline Hassett. I'm the Health Equity Coordinator for the Public Health Department here in the city. And my intern is not here today. She's en route driving somewhere between here and Las Vegas, where she has moved to since graduating. She did write up a little bit of a piece, so I'll go ahead and read that and then just sort of continue on with some of the things that I was able to observe her doing. My name is Esmeralda Pereira, and I completed my UND social work internship at the Grand Forks Public Health Department.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank you on behalf of all the interns and myself for an amazing and unforgettable opportunity to be part of the City of Grand Forks and community. Unlike most interns who were born and raised here in the region, I come from a small town named El Centro, California. Unfortunately, in my hometown, there's not much room for growth and opportunity in my field. I'm sure you're asking yourself, and what brought you here to Grand Forks? Well, to keep it short and sweet, my husband serves in the United States Air Force and was given our first duty station here. Given the news, I was entirely nervous to move to a different city, not to mention a different state. However, over the past 3 years, living in Grand Forks, I've met some amazing individuals and grew within the community. The Grand Forks Public Health Department has treated me tremendously and supplied me with an amazing mentor. Not only did Jackie guide me, but so did Michael Dulitz, who's the opioid response coordinator, Elizabeth Clay, the administrative coordinator, Tess Muller, Grand Forks Public Health Director, Sierra Wellard, the project coordinator for the social detox facility, and also importantly, collaborations with Global Friends and everyone else who may have made this an unforgettable experience. During her internship, probably some of the most impactful things that she did a great deal of community outreach, which includes, of course, researching health disparities, identifying where we're most needed and doing that work, and assessing how those things went. As long as working with Global Friends Coalition, she does speak Spanish. So as a bilingual person, that was exactly timing for Global Friends having 27 new arrivals here in Grand Forks, many of which spoke Spanish. So she was able to help with health appointments and some environmental health pieces related to understanding kind of hygiene factors in our apartment buildings and kind of how to do some of those things in a just society here in the United States. But she also worked with Michael in the opioid response program and was able to serve individuals there. So she really did have quite an impact here in Grand Forks. And I'm very happy that you guys allowed this opportunity. And she definitely was an asset to us at Grand Forks Public Health. Thank you.
Well, okay, sure. I just want to say first on behalf of the City Council and the City Grant, I think it's a phenomenal program that we do. And I want to thank everybody for their work and helping to contribute to the City of Grand Forks. So let's give them one more round of applause. Sure.
In the picture. What are you talking about?
Yeah, the interns all around.
Who wants to stay here? Why don't you guys do that? Why don't you come around?
In the photo, just
Yeah, you're in the photo. You're all
so.
in there.
I hike in Miami.
Are you standing up? On the video.
No, not at all. I speak this way.
Hey, come on, Brandon. Brandon over here. Finance guy. You're close.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
That's the presentation awards, the finance part, the certificate of excellence for achievement, or of achievement for excellence in financial reporting for the year ended 12/31/2021. This is the budget presentation award for the 2023 budget.
All right. Well, thank you to the finance department. I did want to just, we got the award. How do you want to?
Just need to show everybody.
Okay.
Maybe if I could just take a moment because I want to make sure I acknowledge the staff and finance for the wonderful job they both do. There's 2 awards that are included here. Really your budget, and you're going to be talking budget tonight. That's really your roadmap, it's your policy document that's looking forward. Your plan of things to come. Your certificate of achievement for excellence in financial reporting. That's your financial report. We just had an audit copy. That's how things performed in the year. We have excellent staff in finance. Maybe those that are here tonight can maybe just raise their hand that are from the finance department. The financial report headed by Candy Stern, she does an amazing job. It's 36 consecutive years that we've received that accolade there. And Mike Vattenstall, you just saw him up here. He really leads that budget coordination and putting that document together. That takes so much time to do. Both of these we submit to the GFOA, that's your Government Finance Officers Association, for these awards. A lot of time and effort goes into this. Those two head up these teams, but really it's all our whole finance team that really, we have a good staff there that works very hard on this. So I just wanted to thank them all.
We're just going to say quickly too, I want to thank the finance department. We just got done with our audit committee meeting here about an hour ago. Just want to thank everything you do to keep the budget, keep the finances in order. I mean, it's a lot of work. There's a lot you do outside of budgetary items. So I just want to thank the whole finance department. Let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to item 3, public hearings and second reading of ordinances. We do have one this evening.
One public hearing on the termination of protest related to the vacation of North 25th Street, University Avenue, second reading.
Okay, it looks like Dan, this one says it's request for vacation has been pulled by the requester. So do we need to still hold a public hearing, or can we move on from the item?
Thank you, Mary. Yes, this has been requested to be tabled. We're working on another option. It does not, project's still moving forward. We just have something else to be brought to you in the future.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brooks. That's it for item 3. Move on to item 4, citizen comments related to action items.
I've got six speaker cards today for this section. I believe it's Greg Nelson.
Mr. Nelson, please.
Mayor Buczynski and City Council. My name is Greg Nelson, and I'm the Finance Director for the Grand Cities Children's Choir. For those of you not familiar with the choir, we're a group of 235 to 250 singers from Grand Forks and the surrounding area. Our singers are in grades 3 through 9 and rehearse every Thursday evening throughout the school year. We present 2 major concerts yearly in the Chester Fritz Auditorium to accommodate our larger audience. This fall, we will begin our 23rd season of educating our singers in more advanced singing methods and providing them with an opportunity to be part of the musical community. We have been incredibly fortunate to have received granted funds from the City of Grand Forks in the past 22 years. In most years, we use those concert funds or those funds to purchase printed music and to fund the cost of our concert performances. Because of the generosity of the Arts Regrant program, we have been able to keep our tuition lower and give everyone who wants to sing with the choir an opportunity to do so. In addition, many of our former singers are now music educators in the Grand Forks Public Schools. Organizations like the Grand Cities Children's Choir, North Valley Youth Orchestra, and the fabulous Summer Performing Arts Program provide an artistic outlet for the youth in our community and tremendous entertainment for their audiences. I'm asking that you refrain from cutting any of the amounts of funds that you allocate to support the arts community here in Grand Forks.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson.
Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Nelson? All right, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
The next card that was in the box doesn't have a name, but it has an address, 3777 something.
Anybody wanted to speak on moves on South 19th Street?
Then the next, Brenda, I'm probably going to not say your name right. Starts with a B.
So, Brenda?
Brenda is submitting,
Okay, thank you.
Then we're down to Pickle Warning Code.
Ms. Wilson, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor Buczynski and Council. I'm very happy to speak tonight. I did forget my notes,
So I'm just going to speak from the heart, and then I'm going to submit what I intended to say tonight electronically. But I represent Arts for Vets, and we are right over here at 215 North 3rd. You can also see our work if you ever want to walk in University of North Dakota at the Columbia Hall. We have a beautiful collaboration over there with the UND arts collections over there. It's wonderful to us. We are honored to hang wherever people invite us. And just to let you know what our mission is all about, in 2015, several veterans and their family members got together because there were veteran artists out there who just really kind of never felt comfortable talking about some of the subject matter they had to, or exhibiting art and creations that they'd done, perhaps poetry, in a manner that felt respectful and heard and recognized around the city. So it started out as a little group because I had a small group over at Mount Brook Mental Health. They said, hey, let's take that model and start with us. So in 2015, 8 folks ended up at our kitchen table, and from there it grew. By 2016, we had a big event out at Ramada Inn, and we represented over 40 individual artists in the community and did a big fundraiser and gathering out there. Now, this many years later, we have represented over 500 different artists and veteran artists, active duty artists, both online and in our community. And we're very honored, like I said, to be able to be seen not only at our lovely gallery over here, but we hang in Bedcourt at the courthouse, we hang out at UND, and we often hang with other groups. So we hang out with everybody. People say, why do you hang out with everybody? Why don't you just keep it veterans? And I'm going, veterans are everywhere. It doesn't matter where you go, who you meet, what socioeconomic status, where they might be interested in. Vets are everywhere. And the cool part is veteran creators are everywhere. It's just that they often are shy about stepping out and being seen. One thing I would love for you all to know, if you haven't been to our gallery, please come, because the mission of Arts for Vet also is to be inclusive and to create a place. And I think we've done that really well. We have 11 different small businesses right over there, individual studio artists and creators that they aren't necessarily arts. They don't have to be an Arts for Vets member, but they're out there in the community as creators, small business owners, and like we like to say, we're little micro grassroots businesses. We offer to the community free of charge several offerings every week. So you can come in. On Monday nights, you can take a creative writing class. On Tuesday nights, you can hop in and take an open art class. On Thursday afternoons and on Saturday afternoons, we always have multiple things. That again is because we want to take from our group that we have great things to offer. What feels better than giving a gift of value, right? So our group, no matter what walk of life they come from, they're teaching, they're sharing, they're mentoring. And I think one of our members who's had some struggles, the best thing he says all the time is, I used to walk down the street and they said, there's that guy from the mission. Now I walk down that street and they say, there's that artist. So that's what we do. We embrace the whole community. We outreach. And if you call us, we will show up at your organization's fundraiser or whatever you're trying to do and bring our giant graffiti boards and help other groups. Because again, the mission is to interact, to show up, and to be there for every group. We were extremely honored with the grant we got last year and the year before. It made us felt like we'd arrived and that we were doing enough good stuff out there to be seen. We got in a panic this year when we heard there was going to be grant funding, because then we were worried, being the new kids to the table, we might just get brushed off the table. So we had a lot of conversations last week, and Tricia attended one, and we regrouped, talked about it, and wanted to come here to say, we don't want to feel like we're in Here's the Who. We would love for you to, each and every one of you, to come and visit us and see the good things we do, and to please keep the regrab funding where it's at, because we've been around the community for a long, long time. but we really would like to thrive with all the rest of the group. So I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Mr. Lovelace, please.
Good evening. Hello, City Council members, and thanks for letting me speak. I'm just a concerned community member, and I've lived here my whole life, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak in support of my community. Many folks submitted comments in support of specific programs. There's one just before me that sounds like a great program. And I'm speaking of the cuts to arts, PAC, library. I'm not an expert on the budget, but it appears that the PAC, the arts funding and the special events and the library cuts exactly equal roughly the property tax cuts that are being proposed to the budget. And I know in the presentation that's about to be shown, that issue is kind of being, proposed as a, either get the Children's Museum or the arts funding. And so I just wanted to point that out. And then given that being the case, property tax cuts disproportionately benefit the wealthy in this community, whereas this arts funding benefits everybody. Everybody gets to benefit from that. And 40% of the people roughly, and I don't know what the exact numbers are, I'm sure you do, are renters in this community and wouldn't see any benefit for this property tax cuts. So it's also been noted that there's a budget surplus the last few years. So why are we cutting these beneficial programs that benefit everybody in a surplus year? So I guess my ask is you've got many comments, but please don't make those cuts. And I can appreciate that some folks, and maybe many folks who, small homeowners, regular homeowners are struggling and could benefit from a modest tax cut. However, one other option, you could maintain those tax cuts for the majority of homeowners, and perhaps you increase the property taxes for the wealthier property owners that I'm sure could afford to pay those extra taxes. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Sorry, what was the name of Ms. Lomar? Could you say her name? She can't pronounce it, I don't think.
Lupa Passitt. Rachensky, President Sandy, members of the council, thank you so much for allowing me to speak. I'm a longtime resident of Grand Forks and actually was an employee of the city for a long time, and I'd forgotten how nervous I would get when I would have to come up here and talk. So I am also currently the executive director at the Empire Arts Center. So I'm here to just thank you, first of all, for the years and years of Arts Re-Grant funding that the Empire has received. I personally have only been there about between 3 and 4 years, but of course it's been important to us over those 3 to 4 years to help us with so many things. And we're really grateful, and we'd like to tell you that the impact that we think not only the Empire has, but the nonprofit arts in the city is really significant. I mean, we are an impactful group. We communicate together, we collaborate together, we partner together. I think that's what's really important. The Empire likes to think that we are part of that and maybe an important part of that. But I'm sure that you probably see it as you move around the community and go to various arts events or even non-arts events. So a couple of things that we at the Empire want to let you know that the Arts Re-Grant funding has done. And I just threw together a few numbers for you. In the last 6 months, as we have been coming off of a pandemic slowdown in our attendance, We've had over 10,000 attendees at events at the Empire, and we've had over 1,000 artists or performers at the Empire, and that's just in the last, actually 7 months, excuse me. So we feel that is significant. Also, one of the programs that we have at the Empire Theater Company, which is a professional live theater company. Over the past season, we had over 3,600 attendees at productions that they produced, and over 110 performers, or I should say 110 performers that participated in that over the past season, which would have been our fiscal year, July to June. So that we feel like that's a really significant component of what we do, and that we are important to so many people in this community. Certainly those who come to events at the Empire, I think, enjoy not only the performances, but also our facility. And that's another important component that we as the Empire Arts Center bring to the community, but also to the nonprofit arts groups in town, because not only do we do our own performances and programs, but many of our sister and brother nonprofits bring their performances to the Empire. And so we're happy to host them and work with them so that they too can enjoy a beautiful facility and have the best quality performance possible. I think that's all I have to say, except of course, we would really appreciate it if you would consider maintaining the level of funding for the Arts Grant. We would certainly appreciate it. And I'm pretty sure my sister and brother nonprofit artists would also appreciate it. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Please, Laura.
Hello, Mayor and City Council. There are a lot of people here tonight. For the sake of brevity, I'll try to condense my statement. My name is Laura Slot-Hog Hawley, and I am here as a private artist in the community. I am affiliated with multiple arts organizations in town, but I am here to speak as a private citizen. I support the Children's Museum, but I do not support the 2024 proposed budget cuts of at least $25,000 in the budget. I saw that the mayor proposed $25,000 in budget cuts for 2024 for all major arts organizations in Grand Forks that receive the Arts Grant to fund about 5% of the $10 million proposed Children's Museum project over the course of 10 years. These organizations that are affected by the Arts Grant include the Writers Conference, the Empire, the Arts Museum, and other organizations that I am personally affiliated with, such as ArtWise and Arts for Vets. I rent a studio space in Arts for Vets and have met with another organization that I am part of, Watercolor Society, at their gallery on a monthly basis. I've also been a part of other gatherings there with other artists who are not yet professional. We're still building our skills. We are working on it. Artists Underground. I've served in officer positions with Watercolor Society and Arts for Vets. I've been hired as a private individual to teach watercolor art classes by ArtWise. With having space, materials, and funding provided by ArtWise, I was able to teach children about the flow, how the flow of water controls paints and the difference of wet paint on a wet surface and wet on a dry surface. And with the vacating of ArtWise from the schools, ArtWise has a space in the Columbia Mall to provide continued arts education to children in the community. The support of organizations such as ArtWise and Arts for Vets means a lot to me because I am an artist with disabilities, including psoriatic arthritis and Addison's disease. I am not the only artist in this community with disabilities. And I speak frankly that my disabilities have not mattered in my dealings with ArtWise and Arts for Vets, and I've not needed to ask for reasonable accommodations because they instinctively know what artists need and work with a collaborative mindset instead of a place of competition. They know the work and resources it takes to set up and succeed. If you think I'm too young to have psoriatic arthritis and Addison's disease, I have to agree with you, but trust me, my body does not. The World Health Organization defines a state of health as a complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. In my opinion, the arts organizations have helped me to a better state of health because they've promoted community and a sense of purpose. Community and purpose are also a part of the tenets of the Blue Zones Project.
Grand Forks recently became a part of the Great Blue Zones project to promote a happier and longer living community. My hope is that we can recognize the importance of the arts throughout our lifespans to give us purpose into our old age, in addition to providing enrichment for our children. My hope is that we could both adequately fund a children's science museum without cutting the budget for our arts programs. We want to build an arts community, not to compete with the Children's Museum project. This project is something that would ultimately benefit all arts organizations in the community. The word museum has the root word of muse, and it is the muses that serve the arts. My goal here is not to come to speak against the Children's Museum, but ask if we can find another way to fund the 5% of the total 10 million project over 10 years. Organizations like Arts for Vets and ArtWise are able to speak the same language as artists and understand their concerns and needs. It was suggested to me to come to this meeting with solutions, so here they are. Number 1, fund the Children's Museum and do not cut the existing arts budget. Number 2, look at all existing arts reagents funds and public arts funding. How is that money being used and allocated? Is that money being used and going to organizations with ideas that understand and elevate artists, actors, and musicians within the community? If current organizations are not using it, trust me, there are organizations who will. In 2022, 14 arts organizations requested funding for programs. In 2023, that number was 17. The amount of programs asking for funding is increasing because our arts community is rapidly developing and changing. In 2024, give opportunities to organizations that will use all of the funding as it was meant to be. Number 3, hire local artists for public murals and sculptures with diverse point of views instead of outside artists who not lived and not contributed to this community. I can think of several artists who have received who are prominent within this community. Hillary Kapanich is one who has recently received a Bush Fellowship. So thank you so much for listening to my statements, and I'll be sure to send the rest in full. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
That's all that I have.
All right, Dave.
Also say that there's some email comments that are attached.
All right, thank you everybody for coming and speaking today. We're going to move on to the action items. And I know we're going to obviously pull 5.2. Is there other items council wanted pulled from tonight's agenda under action items? Otherwise, we can get right into the budget. Give a couple minutes. Anything, Mr. Veen, I just want to check with you as well. Is there anything else you want to pull other than item 5.2?
No, there's nothing additional. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, so we would look for a motion to approve items 5.1, 5.3, 5.4, 5.5, 5.6, parts A through F, 5.7, 5.8, 5.9, 5.10, 5.11, and 5.12. Approval. We've got a motion to approve. We've got a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries unanimously.
5.2 is the preliminary approval of the 2024 mayor's budget. Also attached is the ordinance for conventional ordinance regarding the budget. Also, we've attached communications, correspondence, and emails regarding budget-related questions.
All right.
The previous attachments.
Thank you. I think we should address, so I think that'd be good. We've got people here and we just talked about it. There is one change in the budget I wanted to talk about regarding that, and then we can have further discussion. First, I wanted to point out, the arts were funded at $130,851 in 2022. It was bumped up last year, but this year would be $20,000 more than it was just in 2022. As I reached out to other cities, I reached out to Fargo, Minot, and Bismarck to see what they were doing for their arts. Fargo, although they have a budget of 2 to 3 times ours, they're spending roughly $90,000 on arts. Minot does $40,000 on arts and events combined, which largely goes to their city band. And Bismarck is at roughly $65,000. So I think it's great. I think we have a thriving arts community. I think it's great that we're funding it at levels much larger than these other entities. With that being said, I did come up, and that's the budget change. It's not a dollar amount change. But in the past, we've had tremendous help. The Community Foundation has done a phenomenal job. Becca Baumbach's done a phenomenal job running the grants program. But that does come with a cost. There's a 6% cost on that. So your $150,000 is being chopped down by $9,000 to start with. So as part of this budget, we also have a phenomenal community development department. So we are going to take that in-house. So that'll save roughly $9,000 in administrative costs. And our community development department will be able to take on that granting process, similar as they do to CDBG and human needs funding. So that will give an additional $9,000 directly to arts funding, which I think is phenomenal. And that will, they've got the arts granting for the last number of years. There's obviously new entities that are coming in all the time, but this will certainly be the target that we start from is the companies that are, or the entities that are currently getting it. So I think that's a really important move. It's utilizing our current staff and directing, as the last speaker had said, under her number 2 for her solutions was to make sure you're getting the most out of those dollars and making sure they're getting allocated directly to the arts. So that is one change that we had going into the budget from our first look at the committee of the whole meeting. Certainly we're going to open up the budget, but again, from a large perspective, we focus on public safety, infrastructure, and workforce. So the salary plan has been a very important piece to this budget. That's all the comments that I have. So at this time, I'm going to open up to council to continue the discussion that we began 2 weeks ago. So I don't know if you want to start with the arts side. I think that would be kind of a general flow. So I'm going to, Mr. Robert, please.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, thanks to all of those who came forward to speak about the important work that's being done in our community. It's wonderful to hear about all the good that's being done with the arts funding that we do have. The one gentleman suggested a change in property tax structures. That's set by the state. We would not be allowed to create essentially a progressive property tax, increasing rates on wealthy property owners. That's not something that we could do. I wanted to take a second to thank former City Council President Hal Gershman for initiating this funding some 22 years ago. And as the mayor has pointed out, that far exceeds the level of funding in the state's other cities. And thank you also, Mayor, for your commitment to the quality of life and for your historic shift in economic development philosophy from just jobs development to quality of life, which will address our workforce development needs and also improve the quality of life for our citizens. The city's support for the Children's Art Museum will be a game changer in terms of workforce development and especially the quality of life for Grand Forks families. There have been people working on the museum for years. So my congratulations to you, Mayor Buczynski, Ms. Saliop, and all those who have been involved in that effort. Rather than focusing on the cut to the arts, which is still an increase, as you pointed out, Mayor, from where it's been over all of that 22 years, including 2022, it's an increase from there. Rather than focusing on that, I'd like to applaud you in the council's support for arts. My main concern, one of my concerns, has always been that the funding has been flat in the past, which meant that even though it didn't seem like a cut, every year we were experiencing cuts because of the erosion by inflation. So I would like to see some recognition of that need, that there would be an ongoing increase in the level of funding, and if there's a possibility for some movement on the level currently being proposed. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. And I think, we discussed this right now. We've got human needs has started out at the 150. They've gotten a 3%. We do plan on a 3% growth, which I think is largely in line with inflation. So we do have items with base retention, as well as special events and arts, which we could all align at that same amount where human needs currently is at 154.5. That'd be, at the discretion of the council if they want to look at that. In addition to additional funds going there, not maybe a top line adjustment, but eliminating some of the administrative fees.
So what you're proposing is to bring all of these to that same level as the Human Service Fund. 154, you said?
Yeah, it'd be 3% on 150, which would be 154.5. Yeah,
154.5. And with a 3% increase annually to those funds.
Yes, and we put that in our long-term planning, but ultimately the next council, the next mayor, sets the budget. Council ultimately decides on the budget, but that would be the plan going forward. Yeah.
The legislative intent is this.
Yeah.
I'll make that motion to adjust the budget accordingly.
All right, so that would be, sorry, we'll just make the motion clear. It would be to have base retention, special events, and arts regranting all at the same level as we currently have the human needs funding at 154.5, and then in the budget a 3% increase going into the future.
Sorry, what is current base retention funding?
150, same as the
150.
The other ones.
So we put all four of these at the same level.
Right.
Sure, I'll make that motion, please.
We got a motion from Mr. Weber. We got a second from Ms. Lunsky. Any further comment on that portion of the Mr. President Sandy, please?
Thank you, Mayor. I think we should take a hard look at how the arts groups are using the funds. When Mr. Gershman went on his crusade to implement such funding, purpose for the funding was to expand the arts offering in our community. And I do believe the vast majority of the arts groups have done that. But the nice gentleman from the children's choir quite specifically said that they're using the funding for operations, which is not what it's meant for. As a matter of fact, it is 100% contrary to what the funds are meant for. In which case, if the funds aren't being used the way they're intended, I think we should reiterate to the arts community that what the purpose is of the arts funding. It's supposed to expand and grow, not keep the cost of joining the children's choir down for the parents in our community. There are other ways to help underwrite the cost for folks that need help paying for being part of that group. So I just think that as an organization, we're bringing this back in-house. I think we should take a look at the communication that we are going to have moving forward to the arts folks and making sure that we're being clear with people what the funds are meant to be used for and how they'll be used. Thank you.
Thank you, President Sandy. I guess any further discussion from the council member in that portion? Yeah, Ms. Lunsky, please.
So what you said took me kind of by shock. So the arts regrant will no longer be controlled by Community Foundation, but it will be brought back to the city.
Yeah, there's been a kind of a long history of different organizations. A number of years ago, the city, was it Novak? Was the arts that had it? Then the city took it back, and then the Community Foundation has taken it for a while. I think they've done a good job, but like I said, that comes with a fee. They're taking 6% off the top. So as the money goes out, you can reduce 6% right away before it gets to the arts. And that's, paid for the work that they do. We have a phenomenal community development department that's already doing this. So I feel like that's a way to ensure those dollars go directly to the arts.
So I think the one comment I wanted to make, that the hard part with the Grand Forks arts community is tiny. And I think to take a tiny little portion away to give to the Children's Museum, which is a huge chunk of money, it just really put a really sour taste in a lot of people's mouth to take $25,000 away to make 10 million or 1 million per year. Just kind of pitted each other, the arts groups against each other. And I don't think that's the point. And I don't think arts groups want to feel that way. I just want to give everyone a voice that there's a lot of bad taste right now, and hopefully we can figure out how to work together.
Thank you, Mr. Kavani.
So based on the 6% not being charged and the increase, so did we have a motion to increase it to 154? Is that correct?
I think it's on the tail.
Yeah. So then that's a difference of roughly $10,000. But we're now handling it in-house. So I would say maybe we have more transparency on who's applying, how many people are applying. Is there anything from stopping us in November if there's funds in other accounts and there's an overwhelming need from someone else to say, oh, well, here's $2,000 here or here's $3,000 there. I think now we have the opportunity to actually understand what it is, and to think that you're losing, $10,000 when we're still historically going up, but now gaining all of the knowledge of who's actually asking, what are they using it for? And then we can understand. I personally, my child attends the choir. I'll pay more if that's what it means. If it means that art supplies are getting to people that need it. So I think us actually understanding what these funds are being used for and creating guidelines for that, I think it'll go a lot further. So I appreciate that we're bringing it in-house.
Thank you, Mr. Gramami.
Mayor, sorry, I thought we had great input tonight, and I know we've all received a lot of emails, and I think some of the options that you brought forth tonight are certainly beneficial, but I think as you look at the big picture, the 25,000 that we're talking about, which shouldn't be, and I don't know if I even think it is competing with the Children's Museum, because I do see them separate, but it does have that appearance that we would be taking it from one and give to the other. And it would seem within the budget this large, we should be able to retain that 25,000 in one manner or form. I don't know how to do that, because you presented some things that will get us partially back there, but it doesn't get us all the way back to the 25,000. And so therefore, I guess I have concerns. We do have, though, until final budget to finalize this thing. I mean, this is just preliminary approval tonight. And of course, we can't raise it, but we can lower it after tonight. I just wondered if it isn't better to keep it at the 25 and then work through some of these details before we have final action, I think, in September.
Yeah, is there more information that you're needing?
Well, I think one of the questions I may ask is something that Mr. Sandy had talked about, and that is there policies already in place for how the money is supposed to be spent? Or is there guidelines that are very specific on this?
Well, I think there was an intent beginning originally when this was done. I'm not sure the exact verbiage of that, and maybe that's a question for Mr. Phelan or Meredith Richards if she's here.
Mayor Paczynski, members of the City Council, there is an application process. So whether we have done it or NOVAC or Community Foundation, there is an application process that specifies, what we're looking for. And so I can't read down all the bullets, but there is an application process. There is a review and then an allocation process that ultimately ends up with you. Like this year, you'll see an annual report that will come your way with the various applications. But there is a formal process. So people are treated objectively and fairly in an application process, similar to the events process.
Thank you.
All right, any further comments? President Sandy.
I think the narrative, as Mr. Weber said, as Mr. Bean said, I think the narrative has been a little bit confused. Although it's been said that we're shaving money from arts and from special events to help pay for the Children's Museum, I don't believe that is actually what's going on here as much as the community evaluating. I mean, let's face it, a year ago when we were talking about doing the budget for this year, when PAC was going to get their money, we were getting all sorts of pushback by all sorts of arts organizations, angry that PAC was going to get funded. And so we decided that we would just up the funding for the arts group and try to make everybody happy, which is how we got to the number that we're at today. Had we continued and been consistent with funding and put it at 150 with the special events the way we probably should have, then people wouldn't be upset with us. They'd be thanking us for giving them 3% more today. So I don't see this as we're taking away from one group to fund another group. That's, in my opinion, that's not what this is. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, President Sandy. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. It's of course the beginning. We've got much more work obviously to do on the budget, so I'll open up to broader discussion on budgetary items. Yeah, President Sandy.
One additional comment regarding the arts funding.
Please.
I think when we have a discussion with the community foundation, I think we should check to confirm that they're not matching funds or doing other things that help the arts community as well. Because if they are, maybe we need to rethink or retool who's managing. Just thinking out loud.
No, I think that's great.
We should have that discussion. Thank you.
All right. Do we want to move on to talk salary plan issues, or what is the next item? Sort of budget that the council wants to work on, or anything broadly? President Sandy, please.
Well, I guess I could go from the beginning. Thank you to the finance team, HR, certainly city attorney and our administration for all of the hard work on the budget and the openness and ease with which it is to ask questions and get what I believe are truthful, straightforward, honest answers that make it easy for me to understand not only the general feelings of city administration, but why HR and why finance are presenting information in the ways that they are. I really appreciate how easy our budget is to read and follow compared to the other taxing organizations within our community. Our budgeting process is so straightforward and so much easier to understand and follow. And that I've noticed it, others in our community have noticed it, and I've been told so as well. So I think that's important to say. I do have, I emailed lots and lots of questions. I got lots of really good answers. I do have some further comments to follow up on things that, just a few. Page 14. Yes, Ms. Storstad, I think we should add in budget $1,000 for e-bikes licenses, or the annual fees. I don't see, we know that they're going to be applying for those annual licenses. We may as well add it into the budget. So I'd make the amendment to change page 14 and add in $1,000 for e-scooter annual.
Yeah, that's on the revenue side, right?
That is correct.
Okay. Do you want to do them do you want to do it in line item kind of amendments, or you just want to do it? Let's do it one by one, just so that way. If something gets complicated, something doesn't like. All right. Can we get a motion to amend page 14 by so we got a motion and we've got a second from so a motion from Mr. Weigel and a second from Ms. Oselski. Any other comments on that item? I don't think you're getting much pushback. Adding revenues. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. On page 82, I was really surprised to hear that our civil service commissioners are paid. I didn't. Did anyone else know that our civil service commissioners get paid $20 per meeting or $40 if the meeting goes over 4 hours, which doesn't seem like enough, but they are paid. Where's the consistency? Where's the consistency within the community groups that we have, and who gets paid and who doesn't get paid?
Yeah, I don't know. Is there another one? Planning? Is there any other committees that receive remuneration, or is it only? Is there some statutory item related to that?
Mayor Paczynski, members of City Council. I think it's been like that for a long time. Number one, and my guess is the civil service back in the day probably was involved in a lot of day-to-day operations of personnel management in the city, because it was your traditional civil service code. Over the years since I've been here, over the last 20 plus years, the City Council has taken more and more authority away from the Civil Service Commission and rested that authority within the City Council and City Administration. So I suspect they got paid because they were involved in a lot of human resource activities back in the day. And of course, some of the authority got stripped away, but we never looked at the time and effort and whether they should continue to be paid. I think the one thing they really spend time on, the meetings are relatively brief, monthly, in which human resource brings items to them with we have civil service employees, they approve the registers, the mayor ultimately approves an appointment. So they get together once a month. Those once a month meetings are not overly long, probably shorter than a planning and zoning meeting. They do get involved in personnel appeals if you're a civil service employee. And so they're basically the hearing board. Those are thankfully been few and far between. And so I can't remember the last one we had in recent history, but I think it's an archaic thing from our past. And it does show some equity differences because there are some boards like planning and zoning that probably do spend more time monthly doing that, and they are all volunteers.
I'm just going to make the recommendation that we should be consistent with the citizen volunteers that show up. The civil service folks are getting paid $20 to pay for their gas to come down here. In fact, we should do it for the community advisory committee. We should do it for planning and zoning. We should do it for anyone we're asking to come and volunteer their time. So it isn't a lot, but at least it would demonstrate consistency.
And Mayor Buczynski and Council President saying, Mr. Gossett reminded me, and of course you know this, it's in code right now. It's in an ordinance right now. But if you would like to have us, instead of just taking away, we've kind of gotten a lesson now, be careful about taking or having perceived taking something away. If you would like us to look at the other boards that are equivalent, and if you would like, a small remuneration for people that are spending their time and effort and their skill sets on that.
I'm not going to suggest that we do anything with this budget. Let's look at it and we'll think about it for next year.
Okay, that's
very good. Thank you. With regard to the Children's Museum, Mayor, I think we had talked about having some sort of affirmation from the council that the council is behind the concept of shifting our economic development policy. I'm an old timer on the council, and I don't change very easily because we've been doing this for the way I know for 13 years. So, but I also know that I'm only elected by 1/7 of the population, and you, Mayor, have been elected by all the electors across the community, and they elected you to lead. And so I'm getting behind your concept. Had pretty much anyone else on the council suggested this, I'd say you're crazy. But Mayor, I believe in what you're doing, and I'm truly inspired by the fact that you stick your neck out and say, let's make a change and let's try to do some good. And so I will support you in that manner. And I'm hoping that the rest of the council, we don't necessarily need to take a vote, but if there are others that disagree with the concept, I'd like people to speak up and we can have a conversation.
Yeah, and I guess just to add some color and some context, in the past, the city's been involved in developing land. So on the industrial park or business park, they've purchased land. We're going to see Acme Tools, FedEx, they put in infrastructure. We've done a lot of work and investment in growing jobs. We're now at a point where jobs are coming. They're coming fast. They're coming furious. I think it's phenomenal. We need to retain workforce. We need to be able to have a community that's amenity filled. And with that, the people that are already here are going to benefit. So it's really a shift with unemployment, reaching that 2% and below there. It's really a shift in how we look at economic development more from, instead of a job growth, more as an employment growth type of or workforce growth, let's call it. So, Mr. Weber, you look like you got your fingers ready on the mic button.
Well, I'm going to go back a few minutes in the meeting. We had the motion about increasing the arts funding and events funding and the others. Mr. Bean seemed to be suggesting that he would support an even larger increase. At that point, I felt like getting to 4 votes or hopefully 7 votes, that we maybe squeezed that as far as we could. And I didn't know if we were going to lose that by trying for more. Nonetheless, it should be recognized that not only do the costs for arts organizations continue to grow, but the number of arts organizations in our community continues to grow. So there are more and more groups doing good work who are competing for those limited dollars. The reason I mention all of that is because I'm a big supporter of the Children's Museum. I think this is a wonderful thing for our community. But I need to ask, will they at some point be eligible to compete for these re-grant funds, or are they in a different category? Are they adding to the pool of applicants?
No, I don't believe so. I think they've submitted for a grant, received $5 million from the state of North Dakota, and they're preparing another grant application for that. So largely their funding has come, I think, from the state. So I think it's been viewed as a regional project, so even bigger than local. But if we want to see it actually happen, it's been talked about for 30 years. I think it's time to get it done. But I think we could certainly in-house just say, everything that's going on, that would be available. I don't see it as arts per se, as a re-granting type of option. Let's just put it that way.
I'd agree. And after 30 years of trying this, I agree with President Sandy. I'm inspired by your courage in moving forward with this. But we should also remember, or future councils, we can't tie their hands, but on August 7th, 2023, Mayor Buczynski stated that no, the Children's Museum would not be eligible for future re-grant funds. Thanks.
So I think that was a yes to your original question, Dave, that he was on, and the president's not.
Anyone else want to comment regarding the strategy for or against?
Mayor, if I could to respond, I would have had quite a few discussions internally, and in the past, I've always involved and supported our infrastructure, like our strategic growth areas that have been in place now for some time and really are aligned with the economic development growth. So this change to the quality of life initiative, I think, is a great way to go. For some time, we've been talking about, trying to grow the work or trying to grow the number of jobs, but we didn't always have the workforce to fill those jobs. So the quality of life initiative that you've laid out here, I think, is a great way for us to move forward with. What I'm wondering about is if we as the council and yourself as the mayor should talk a little bit more about what that really means for our community, not just look at one project. I support what's going on with that project, but that change in strategic direction probably goes beyond, again, just the Children's Museum. We know it's going to involve some of the other initiatives out there with the Aquatic Center and the indoor athletic fields, etc. It seems like we should probably take some time now, between now and when final approval of our budget is to, and maybe beyond, to take a step back and start having a little more discussion about how this, at what is this strategic master plan look like, and what's are we intending to be a part of it and whatnot. So, I mean, I support what you're talking about, but I do think that more discussion needs to be had about what entirely this initiative would look like.
Yeah, I think that's, obviously a great idea. A lot of those discussions have happened internally. I don't think, as far as a chance for council to discuss it, it's been staff largely that's been discussing it. So I think that would be great. I think we've dabbled in it, as President Sandy and yourself have said, for a long time, but having that strategy behind it, I think it's there. I think it's just expressing it and discussing if that's the right path. So.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So I think we should strategically, we should somehow set a goal for their fundraising for the Children's Museum and not provide resources to them until they hit whatever goal that is. I don't know if it's 50% of the cost of the building, 75% of the total project. I don't know. But what was the plan? I mean, we passed the budget on January 1st, we're going to cut them a check for money. Was that the plan, or how are we going to administrate or handing over funds?
Yeah, I think those are discussions. I mean, we're replacing the budget. It's kind of, you have appropriation, we're appropriating the money, but it still has to be discussed exactly the terms and how it's going to be laid out. Do you have anything to add?
Mayor,
Berczynski, what we thought is if you do approve, similar to when you approve things in the budget, the budget gets approved here in late September, then we would come back after that approval and these specific subject matters like the Children's Museum, come back to put some, I'm going to call it a development agreement, some sort of agreement together with your input about what you would agree to do to release those funds in the various triggers or, milestones that they would need. And so if you do approve the budget, we would come back with a formal agreement that we would sign with, whoever the nonprofit is with them and start that work. That would be our intent. You guys are in charge of releasing those funds, and we want to make sure we have an agreement with the nonprofit.
I know that they're currently working, as you mentioned, Mayor, they're working on their $5 million grant application with the state. That's new funds created by the state this most recent legislative session. And so we should confer with them and try to understand what they need from us. If a letter is satisfactory stating the funds are available, because I know that they're looking for match money. But so I'm hoping that we don't have to hand them a check for $5 million for them to get the money from the state. I'll assume that administration will work on that and at some point come back to us with a recommendation. I'd like to see them raise, 60% of the cost of the building before the city cuts them a check. Or 60% of the money we're going to give them, or whatever it is, something like that.
Yeah, no, I think we can get terms that everyone's comfortable with. And,
great.
I mean, you mentioned this.
Great, and I must say, I did work as a board member for about 3 years, working on all facets of setting up that Children's Museum. I haven't been on the museum board for several months now, but I am a big supporter of it, and I want everyone to know that I've been working on it for a long time. And some people should be recognized: Kim Carnesel, Alex Dean, Carmen Moira, Jim, Natalie, Jill, Natalie, and a whole bunch of other people that I don't remember who are all working on it. There are a lot of people working on that effort for a considerable amount of time, and I really appreciate everything that they're doing, trying to lead our community forward. Okay. Right along, Mr. Mayor, recycling. I think we should discuss the fact that the cost for recycling for individual homeowners is going up 11%. There are a lot of additional costs that have gone into waste management's cost. Lots of things going up. Can't argue that. I know because one of Mr. Weber's interns did a research project, and that person proved that the cost of recycling disproportionately affects people that are the lower income folks in our community, because the higher income people spend more money, buy more goods, and therefore have more stuff to recycle. Yet everyone across the city pays the exact same for recycling. So the people that don't recycle as much are paying for as much as myself when I'm recycling, or the mayor or whomever. So I don't know how to justify that and wrap my arms around it. I'll go back to saying the same thing I said several years ago. I'd really like to see a pay per throw program, pay to recycle, pay to throw your garbage, buy the bags at the grocery store, whichever one you want, throw them in whichever container, you pay. I recognize that doesn't work well in a community where we cross-utilize the folks that are driving the garbage trucks. I get that. There has to be some balance in there somewhere. That's just a narrative for another day. Okay. I think I only have two other thoughts. The salary plan, and then I asked Mr. Gostad very specifically. This isn't the first time I've asked him, but I have asked him in the past, and I appreciate that he would give me some very good information. With the changing of how we're going to be managing our economic development dollars and looking at doing quality of life infrastructure, and therefore potentially going out for a sales tax to extend the Alerus Center sales tax, whereas that'll allow us to shore up the Alerus Center for many years and then potentially build indoor turf facilities and perhaps an aquatic center. City of Grand Forks will then be a significant owner in multiple different quality of life facilities in our community, but we aren't going to be managing any of them. And I'm struggling with that because I've watched other taxing entities utilize funds in ways that I disagree with and or weren't even intended for the funds that they were using them for. So I very specifically asked Mr. Gostad, what would it take to turn the Park District into a department within the city of Grand Forks? This isn't the first time I've mentioned this. I think I'm going to be a little more straightforward this time and say, I believe the Park District should be a department within the city of Grand Forks for a lot of reasons, many of which I won't get into tonight, but most importantly, because I believe it would save the taxpayers money and allow us to help to have oversight of our own facilities rather than turning them over to another entity. I think in terms of transparency and funding for employees, transparency for the taxpayers, as I mentioned earlier, the budget that we have been provided is incredibly easy to read and it's very easy to follow the dollars, which isn't necessarily the way other taxing. I'm not saying anything specific about the Park District. I'm just saying we make it very easy. The city council cannot put an initiative on a ballot. It has to be referred by the citizens with 25% of the total number of qualified electors in the city park voting in the last election. I don't know how many that was. It's a bunch. But I would recommend, I'd love to see the city council have a resolution that states we believe that the Park District should become a department within the city of Grand Forks. I think it would allow us to, through attrition, save money and employees. We have multiple different lawn mowing services in our community. We could do a lot of things that would make ourselves considerably more efficient, and I think it would be the best for the community. But I can't do that. The city of Grand Forks, the city council can't do that. It has to be citizen-led. So I'll leave it to the citizens. I would like to see, if others agree, I'd love to see us come up with a resolution suggesting that the Park District become a department within our community or within the city. Mayor, comment? This was not the mayor's idea at all. So everyone knows the mayor and I did not talk about this in advance.
I did not know this was coming. I did see the email. I think either that or the park board could also vote to be absorbed. So that would be if we could convince them, that might be the easier route. But good luck with that. Yeah, any other comments on that? I'm assuming you're not looking for a resolution. So
no, I'd be open to having personal conversations if people are interested in discussing that, either for or against. I'm fine either way. The only other thing I have to talk about is the salary.
Anybody want to speak on that previous night? All right. Okay. Ken, did you have something? You're unmuted. I don't know if you've been.
No, I'd have a lot to think about before I would go along with that, but I think I got to think through that. So I'm a little bit troubled by it, but I'll leave it at that for now.
Okay. I'll try to get you more data.
President Sandy, please.
Last thing, salary plan. I think that our city employees are really, really good people. And I've had the opportunity to have lots of great conversations, whether it's on the phone or in person or in email, talking to our employees about their jobs, their feelings on the work that they do, as well as the salary plan as proposed. I appreciate that people are willing to raise their hand and speak and stick their neck out for one reason or another. I took a few phone calls this weekend. I think it's great. I think we should, as long as we keep communicating There are paths to, I believe, getting places where everyone can be happy. I know that the city employees are interested in the step plan. I've been very vocal that I disagree with the step plan. However, I told my buddy Joe when we met that I would support the step plan because he asked me to, and I would, so I will. I'm not sure what step plan though, and because I'm not sure that it's the right idea to aim for hitting the midpoint at year 9. If we are providing a cost of living adjustment annually, whether it's the ECI or the CPI or you name it, if we follow the plan as it's suggested, I don't know if year 9 is the right time to hit the midpoint. I'm not sure it's going to be real easy for us to attract new employees if our plan is to tell people, don't worry, at year 9, you'll be making the same as the guy in Fargo. To me, I don't understand how that should be the goal. I'm not saying it shouldn't be the goal. I'm just not saying it should. I don't know. I think that, me for one, I'd probably prefer to front load and try to get people to the midpoint sooner to try to make it easier to attract new workforce to come to Grand Forks. So maybe it's instead of 2.5, maybe it's 3, maybe it's 3.5. I don't know what the number is, but I'd like to see us. It could be a real good strategic advantage for us to be able to attract workforce. But then, as it sits based upon the 2.5%, if we do a cost of living adjustment every year and we do a 2.5% step, okay, at year 9, you're at the midpoint. At year 20, you're 32% above the midpoint. I'm not sure that's fair either. Having people be 32% above the regional average. I don't know what is fair. I don't know if it's 15% or if it's 50%. I don't honestly know. What I do know is I want more time to think about it. And I think we should have more meetings with the city reps to talk about some of these thoughts on how and what's the best way to implement the steps. So I'm 100% in agreement with the Plan A salary adjustments that's based upon market. And for next year, I'm going to 100% support the new salary wages that are being proposed. And because we don't have to say yes or no to any step plan today. What we have to do is approve the raises that we're going to give next year. And then it's next year, in theory, when we then decide whether we're applying the ECI and or what the steps are going to be. And so I'm 100% behind our employees and agree that the current plan that we have, I've come to learn from HR and our employees, it's not doing what either it was initially intended to do or what I thought it was actually doing. And so I agree and I understand. And so I'm going to support the salary adjustments for next year. And then I'd really like to have, take this next year, well, hopefully 6 months, and have more meetings with the city reps and the employees and talk about some of these things and actually get an understanding of what people think is a good way to attract and retain our employees. That's my only take on that, Mayor.
So I'm summarizing it right. Moving forward, Plan A with the for the 2024 budget with the market adjustments, and then looking at a step plan of some sort to be TBD, but at least for now, intending to continue that. And then, looking at the ECI and figuring how we continue to institute that, whether it's performance-based. I know Mr. Weigel has talked about that. If we do something performance-based, we have to make sure that any market adjustments as they come aren't compressing people after they've received a performance-based growth in their salary. But I get what you're saying tonight. You're okay with moving it forward as is, with certainly more to look at that one in the future. Mr. Weigel, please.
If President Sandy's making a motion, I will second that motion. The only thing that I would add is I do think there has to be a performance-based portion of this, because essentially what we're saying is that you could be the most outstanding employee that the city has, but you're going to get the same raise as the person that just meeting the standards. And I don't think that's right. I think our employees that go above and beyond should be compensated for going above and beyond. And what I've talked to some city employees about is the fact that take that CPI or ECI, whatever it might be, set a floor or a ceiling with it, and then your high performers get the higher portion of that, and then your people that are just meeting the standards may get the exact ECI, or they may get lower. So I think any salary plan that we choose has to have has to benefit our high performers within the city. So I'm happy to start working with city employees and the employee reps to get a plan moving forward, and I would support what's been proposed so far.
Do we want to please, President Sandy?
So as part of the continued research that we should do, I don't believe that whether it's our city administration or our HR department, I believe that we have, to a certain degree, failed I'll take personal responsibility. We failed some of our employees. And we've done that because we haven't provided a consistent way for people to be evaluated. And because of that, we end up with an unfair system in the pay for performance when your raise is counting on your evaluation. Granted, I'm learning that sometimes it's a matter of 2 cents or 4 cents, so it doesn't really matter that much. But in a situation where we're going to try to reward people for their hard work, we need to have a consistent, honest, and measurable system for evaluating employees. Because if we don't, then we're going to be back to everybody complaining that this guy got this and I got that and whatever, right? So I think as part of this, we're going to take some time to try to come up with the best plan. I'll task administration and HR and say, you got to figure out how we can fairly evaluate our employees. We have to figure that out.
Yeah, and I think that's been the challenge over a number of years. If there was a perfect plan, it would be easy because everyone would just do that. So I think trying to get it as close as we can to perfect is going to be good. But I know HR has a challenge, and they do a great job every day, managing what is extremely dynamic workforce situation.
Yes, Mayor. So let me make sure that I don't think our HR was a failure. Well, I don't think our administration is a failure. I think in terms of everything that that they've been doing and working on is so good. This is just one small aspect. We just need to figure it out. Right? Thank you.
All right. Is there any other items in the budget that want to be discussed, or we could move to a motion to approve it, the budget as is, since that would be
actually my understanding was that President Sandy made a motion and that it was seconded, and the motion, if I could check in, was that recognizing and incorporating. The motion is recognizing and incorporating the 2 approved amendments to the mayor's proposed budget that we've already voted on. The motion is to provide preliminary approval of the 2024 budget and introduce the ordinance and set the public hearing date for September 18th at 5:30 p.m. Was that the motion?
That was the motion. Thank you.
I don't remember there being that many words. But,
I think maybe we can do one more thing to make sure it's included. And to the salary plan is also, if you can include the 2024 salary plan also.
Okay. Well, I think you should be looking at him. He's included for him. So yeah,
that's what I heard. I heard you're going to approve the.
We're going to approve Plan A.
Yes.
For the market. Yes. That's Plan A of the for the market adjustment.
So with that added to the motion as stated, we have a motion. We have a second. There's a motion from President Sandy, second from Mr. Weigel. Any further discussion, at least a preliminary approval for the 2024 budget? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Finance. Thank you, HR, all the department. That's great work. We move on to item 6, information items.
Your statement and change the cash balance as of June 30th.
Don't we now? It's just getting good. Where are you going?
Wait a minute. Someone at least give Dana Sandy a round of applause for his work on that. Soften them up a bit. There we go. All right. All right. Do we have item 6.2? All right. Thank you. So we'll move on to 7, approval of minutes and bills. We got a motion to approve as this. Yeah, we got a motion, Mr. Light, a second from Selsky. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Any adjustments or motion as is? Motion as is. President Sandy, second from Mr. Kavani. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Same sign. Motion carries unanimously. All right, we need we're on this 8. Do we have any comments this evening as general comments, Ms. Lundmark? All right, so we'll move on to 9. City Administrator comments. I'm sure you're breathing a little easier this evening after the budget's been passed, Mr. Field. So please.
Thank you, as always, City Council and Mayor for leading that and all the work that goes into it. Thank you. I just want to highlight we are asking for a JDA and City Council meeting next week, Monday. Mr. Gosted and I have been working with the developers of Memorial Village 2. That's what we're asking for a meeting for, Memorial Village 2. So we've been working with the developers. We've been working with the University of North Dakota. We've been working with the UND Alumni Association. Regarding it, as you know, you passed both at the JDA and you passed something at the City Council. We anticipate some of those changes will be made. The Alumni Association is stepped up to take on the $2 million loan from the JDA. So we will be asking you to review that. There's some other guarantees that go along with it. So we're gonna move change some of the names on that. Councilmember Osowski.
Why are we moving it up to, is that next week?
Yeah, next week, Monday. We've asked in front of the committee of the whole meeting that we have a special City Council meeting, the special JDA.
So we'll have the JDA meeting, and then we'll just talk about Memorial Village as a council, and then we'll move on to committee of the whole.
Yeah, so I'd run just that one item, and then we can go.
How come that can't wait until the following?
It's time is of the essence, and so we're going to try to move it forward. They do want to, and so they do want to start construction. We've been at this for a while, but lots of back and forth. I think we're moving in the right direction. So remember, you have a JDA loan, and then you also there's a City Council where you approve the pilot. I think we're more focused on the loan on some of those modifications. And so I've also spoken with President Armacost, and if he's able to be there on Monday, I've asked him to be there to express his deep interest in the project. And I know some of the UND officials didn't say that he was all in, but I have been in many meetings, and I think it's very important to the University of North Dakota, and it's very important to President Armacost. I've asked him to be here so he can be in front of you and say that to you. So we're working on some details. Mr. Gosted is engaged with the various attorneys on the other side, so hopefully we can bring something back that would even be more acceptable than it was the first time. To Mr. Vian's point, the mayor and I have been working on the quality of life investments. So we intend on at next week's call after the special JDA and City Council meeting that we're going to have a working session with you on the quality of life investments. And as a preliminarily, we looked at combining those at the Alara Center, keeping the BMX track where it's at, so we don't have to move that, and try to integrate those two facilities. So that's a concept change that you have not seen, that we want to show that to you and hopefully show some cost decreases in the project by trying to combine those facilities. What you'll see is a facility. We've also asked regional architects and engineers or construction managers to take a look at those costs. So we'll share the results of that. We'll also share some results of, I'll call it value engineering, but really trying to right size these facilities and try to find some ways that would reduce the cost. The last time we looked at it, it was north of $100 million. So we've worked to try to scale that back. So we'll be here to present that. We'll have the consultants here, and really we want your feedback and input. Park District's been separately been working with stakeholders, the various groups. We haven't been involved in that day to day, but we think Monday is an important meeting, as Mr. Bean has said, to really look at the broader piece of quality of life and some of the things that we're working on. We would like to continue to work through August into September on this project to hopefully get something that would meet the city council's needs and wants to put it on a ballot. So that's our goal, is to work with you throughout August and September to see if we can get you to vote to move forward. But Monday will be the first time you've seen some adaptations and feedback, so we can continue to work with that. So that's what I have here.
Thank you, Mr. Phelan. We'll move on to 10, Mayor and council member comments. Mr. Lyon, any comments? Mr. Soros, any comments?
No, thank you.
Ms. Lunsky, any comments? Thank you. All right, we got Mr. Gavani, any comments? No, thank you. Mr. Bean, any comments?
No comment.
All right, Vice President Weber.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This would have been, I guess, my 12th time that I've attended an annual meeting where the finance department was receiving an award. It's almost like a beautiful sunset. You can start taking them for granted after a while, but it's an important and wonderful thing every time. Not only does it represent the good work of the finance department, but it also means cost savings for the city in terms of bonding rates and other matters. So thank you again for all of your work. I don't want to ever take that for granted, that you just get an award every year. It's still a great thing each time that happens.
Thank you, Vice President Weber. President Sandy, anything further?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. At the Planning and Zoning Commission last week, there were 2 different items related to signs. One for a new billboard that there was lengthy discussion about it, and I believe it was preliminarily approved on Washington. Also for a ground monument sign by Apollo for the new park that's being dedicated over there that is non-conforming to our sign code. And so I was thinking to myself today, who is responsible within the city of Grand Forks for sign code enforcement? The reason this came to mind was because I counted 9 non-conforming signs in an 8-block stretch on South Washington. And I find it odd that we're going to approve another billboard when there are so many signs. There's a sign across the street that's non-conforming from right out that door. So, for example, the Park District, what sign? The Oxford construction sign that's on the fence. What do they have to do with building that building? Not a whole lot. The Park District is selling advertisements on their ball fields. Those advertisements are supposed to point in toward the field. They're not. They're pointing out. Those are non-conforming signs. The smoke shop put up a 4x8 handmade sign that's sitting out on South Washington. ICS has a 4x8 sign looking for employees to come and drive cranes and trucks. Again, Oxford Realty has them all over town. There are flags at Caribou Coffee all over the place. Same with Sonic. Those are non-conforming signs. Thriving Church has about a 40-foot by 20-foot hanging sign hanging off the building. Perhaps they'll tell us it's a mural, and then it's okay. But as of right now, it's non-conforming and against the law. The Italian Mood has 2 signs, Twin City Motors and Twin City Auto, both non-conforming signs all over the place. Why are we approving additional signs when we can't even manage the signs that we have? So I'm not going to vote to support any more signs in our community. Not a one. I don't care. They can sue us. I'm totally okay with that until we get some enforcement going and clean up what we're dealing with today. I'm not going to be supportive of those signs next week. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for that, President Sandy. I know there's been a sign committee in the past, and who does? Can someone just tell me who does enforce the signs? Just
no one.
Just so I can sleep tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. President Sandy, the enforcement does happen through our inspections department, so we'll get that list and we'll work with them. The requests that were made were separate from those, obviously, but we'll work with make sure that the enforcement's out there and looking into some of those. So I wouldn't be able to say for certain that every one of them wasn't non-conforming, but certainly I know a good portion of those were. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Just in closing, I do want to thank the city council and all the staff, all the work done. This is the fourth year that the city has managed to cut mills. Obviously, valuations at times have been higher than those mill cuts, but I still think it is really important that we continue that direction. You've got a county that's raising nearly 7 mills. You've got a school district that's raised 21 mills. Not only keeping the budget and continuing to lower the mills, but I really want to thank the city staff and the city council for continuing to drive growth in this community. A lot of the growth that's being driven is through the good work by the city council and the city staff. I think we're an entity that's been working with our means and making really the community better, but also growing that tax base to help the other entities. And if you think about a couple of years ago, I think about the county and the school district raising 7 mills, raising 21 mills. Granted, one was for a bond referendum, but had there not been growth in the city the last few years, had there not been a large valuation change, I don't know where those entities go for funds. So I just want to thank the council because we are making a difference in this community, and that's a big deal. So not only within our means, but also creating growth, which will help everybody in the long run. So thank you for that. This is preliminary approval, and I'm glad that we've got that completed. Have a great night and a great week, everybody.
We adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Let me at least finish my comments. We got a motion, a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Saying if you're negative, not we are adjourned. Thank you.